3 spine-chilling night drive incidents exposed. Terrifying true stories of the cursed and sinister. Tara gripped the steering wheel, her fingers digging into the worn leather as the headlights sliced through the dense autumn night. She had just finished another draining shift at the diner and couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Her old Honda crunched along familiar streets, the flickering streetlights creating ominous shadows that whispered secrets she didn't want to hear. All she could think about was getting home to Ethan, her 7-year-old son, and wrapping him in warmth and safety before morning. But even the nostalgia of recent nights spent together couldn't chase away an unsettling chill. A buzz from her phone shattered the quiet. An unknown number. Probably a prank. She ignored it, focusing instead on her memories of laughing at Halloween stories with Ethan, the smell of pumpkin spice lingering in their small kitchen. Still, unease crept in. Rumors of urban legends loomed in the background: a missing child, dark stories of an old hospital just outside of town, places that people avoided after darkness fell. As the dim streetlights flickered and the world outside dimmed to shadows and rustling leaves, panic took hold. She dismissed the prickling sensation on her neck, pushed aside the anxiety congealing in her gut. Illuminated only by the wheezing breath of her car, the road ahead stretched empty and desolate. Tara's heart raced as she rolled onto a deserted stretch, distant coyote howls taunting her with eerie reminder of those diner tales, a haunting feeling of being watched, that something sinister lurked just beyond the veil of night. Then, without warning, the engine sputtered, gasped, and died. She was stranded, darkness swallowing the last flickers of light. The phone screen displayed no service. Panic knotted in her stomach as she tried to call for help, but only silence answered back. She gripped the flashlight, preparing to step into the unknown void outside of her car, a mix of courage and terror twisting her insides. That's when she saw it. A shadowy figure lingered just beyond the reach of her light. Her breath hitched, the sheer essence of fear tightening around her throat. It was the same outline she thought she saw across the road earlier, closing in, silent and unbearably familiar. "Hello?" She called out, but her voice trembled, laced with an almost instinctual dread. The figure didn't answer, just stood there, getting closer. Adrenaline surged, every survival instinct drilled into her scream to run. But panic kept her frozen. Could it be someone from her past? As she stepped back toward the car, howling coyotes filled her ears, a mocking choir of despair. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With every step back, the figure advanced, closing the distance, and she swallowed hard against the fear that choked her. Panic stole her breath, and for a moment, she could only see her son's innocent smile glaringly vivid against this haunting encounter. Breathless and desperate, she glanced back, too terrified to look away for long. A jumble of whirling thoughts crashed in her mind, the face she once knew now morphed into something she wasn't sure she could trust. It was merely a whisper of familiarity that left her mind racing. Was this supposed betrayal behind her the real horror of the night? Closer and closer, were these shadows' collective memories ready to reclaim their hold? Would she make it home to Ethan, or had the darkness come to collect? The ground beneath Tara felt unsteady as she scanned the shadowy figure that loomed ever closer, her heart thundering in her chest. This wasn't just a person, it was a shroud of old memories and buried fears, shading everything around her. Her instincts screamed to scream, to fight, to flee, but her feet remained chained to the pavement. "Who are you?" she choked out, struggling to project any authority against the encroaching darkness. The silhouette halted, swaying slightly, as if considering its next move. A face began to emerge from the black, a visage she knew, but warped. It was her long-lost brother, David, gone after a reckless bender years ago. His eyes gleamed, but they were hollow, swirling with darkness. "Help me," came his whisper, softer than a gentle breeze but laden with an impossible weight. Tara's gut twisted. She had thought him dead, lost in a world of drugs and despair, fading from their lives like vapor in the night. Yet he was standing before her, or a specter of him, cutting through her heart like a knife. David, she took a shaky step forward, drawn to him. But terror yanked her back, the memories flooding her with freezing dread. Those nights spent worrying, the police sirens echoing, the weight of guilt. Had she abandoned him? Yet wasn't he dangerous? "Mom needs you," he murmured, his voice barely a breath now, flaring into the chill. "I need you." The wails of coyotes pierced the air again, drawing her attention momentarily. It was as if each howl was a warning, urging her to run. But she couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Her mind churned through the years, revolting against the realization that she might have to face her past tonight. In her heart, a flicker of hope sparked. Perhaps this was her chance to mend what was broken. But pummeled by doubt, she clenched the flashlight, drawing courage to question the dead. "Did you really? Are you really?" Abruptly, David's form shifted, shadows swirling around him, deepening the darkness into an abyss. "It's not safe here. It's been waiting for you." A low growl emanated from the trees, a sinister rumbling like thunder, and the figure melted into shadows, merging into the night. Tara's breath caught in her throat as a dark fog rolled in, swallowing the light, rising thick and heavy. She spun around, heart racing, but the territory around her was shifting, once familiar now unfathomable. The darkness seemed alive, crawling over her car, edging closer, as if the very asphalt pooled with fear. Panic erupted like a surge of electricity, and suddenly she was torn from her thoughts. Was it closing in on her, or was her own mind betraying her? Then she noticed it, a shimmering object half buried in the dirt beside the road where her car had sputtered and died. With a sense of urgency fueled by dread, she felt compelled to retrieve it. What felt like instinct led her out of the safety of her vehicle, flashlight trembling. Her fingers brushed the object, a child's toy, vaguely unfamiliar yet achingly nostalgic. Ethan's. That realization unwound a new horror within her. No, fear transformed into a parental agony that gripped her soul. She had to get back. She had to return to Ethan. Panic drove her to sprint toward the shelter of her car, adrenaline fueling her flight, darkness clawing at her heels, but just as she reached her Honda, a chilling laugh echoed out, deep and inhuman, forcing the chill of death down her spine. "Want him back?" The voice rang from deeper shadows, every syllable dripping with malice. Tara froze, the laughter circling like a predator closing in. Would she ever escape this nightmare? The truth began to settle, creeping into her consciousness. Each twist of fate shaped her destiny, but which path led her to safety? With every heartbeat, she felt time slipping away. The night loomed ominously, and the laughter danced at the edge of her mind. Was escaping the past possible? She didn't have much time left to find out. Tara pivoted, the wild laughter still echoing in her ears, clutching the flashlight like a lifeline. Shadows writhed, thick and intricate, wrapping around trees and creeping toward her like something alive. She stumbled back, her breath quickening as panic became palpable, sharp enough to taste. "Ethan!" She screamed, her voice breaking, swallowed by the night. No response. Silence mourned in its absence, amplifying the sinister laughter that had now taken on a wicked cadence, mocking her fears. She couldn't shake the tightness in her chest, the gnawing anxiety that tightened with every second. Fear twisted into desperation, morphing into a need that drove her forward, back toward her car. Tara couldn't stop thinking about the toy. Why was it there? What had that thing done with Ethan? Her heart pounded against her rib cage, urging her onward, but shadows shifted again, almost as if they were anticipating her every move. She could feel them, enveloping her, retreating and then lunging forward, an unseen predator waiting for the right moment to strike. "Just get in the car," she hissed to herself, repeating it like a mantra. She took another step, the crunch of gravel echoing loudly in the morbid stillness. Suddenly, the air around her thickened. She could almost hear it tightening, pressing against her skin, her mind racing to justify the terror she felt, Was it the darkness or something tangible lurking just beyond her field of vision? A rustle nearby sent her into a frenzy. Tara whirled, flashlight beams slicing through the blackness, but all it revealed were branches and shadows. She gritted her teeth, forcing herself to let go of the panic. She needed clarity. "Get away, leave my son alone," she called, her voice wavering but fierce. The words echoed in the void, bouncing off unseen walls. Then she heard it, faint but growing louder, a whimper. It was coming from the darkness, echoing a child's cry. Her heart shattered at the sound, pulling her deeper into the abyss of terror. Could it be Ethan? Was that even possible? Ethan! She cried again, heart racing as she rushed toward the sound, driven by a primal instinct. The laugh changed, slowing, its rhythm morphing into a slithering whisper. "You're getting closer." Time felt suspended as the words gripped her. Tara pressed forward, ignoring every instinct that urged her to turn back. She had to be brave if it was him. She wouldn't fail again. She wouldn't let the darkness swallow him, too. Then she saw it, the flicker of something bright amidst the gloom. A shimmering light echoed from the tree line, faint but familiar. Hope surged through her, flooding her with warmth. It was enough to push away the chill curling around her heart. As she drew closer, the outline of a small figure became visible, near the edge of the trees. A small hand reached out, palm open, beckoning her. The light flickered and dimmed, but it burned bright in Tara's soul. "Ethan!" she gasped, tears pooling in her eyes. But as she crossed into the tree line, the mocking laughter erupted once more, this time merging with the sound of something breaking, a sinister symphony of despair rising to a fever pitch. "Welcome home!" the voice hissed, twisting the word home into something insidious. The shadows churned, and Tara's resolve faltered. The trees loomed behind her like sentinels, their branches clutching towards her. She turned, breathing hard, fighting the impulse to flee. Could she really take Ethan back? What awaited them in the dark? Before the question could even finish forming in her mind, the shadows lunged forward, a dark wave pushing against her. Tara staggered back, the weight of the night encroaching as she clutched her flashlight, her pulse racing. "No!" she shouted, but fear had turned to a suffocating grip. As the darkness surged around her and the laughter crescendoed, she felt the ground shift beneath her. She was about to fall into its depths, but the world spun, blurring around her as she clung to the dying light. Then it went out. In that suffocating silence, a moment of bone-chilling clarity struck her. The shadows were alive and they wanted more. What new horror waited for her in this total darkness? Tara had no answer, but an undeniable truth echoed in her mind: she was far from done fighting. As the darkness began to push her under, she whispered into the black, "I won't lose him." But what if losing him was the only way to save herself? Tara's grip on the flashlight was now a distant memory as darkness enveloped her like a smothering blanket. The eerie laughter dissipated, replaced by a suffocating silence that seemed to press against her from all sides. Breaths came in short gasps, and the weight of despair bore down on her chest. Every instinct screamed at her to retreat, but she refused to surrender to the shadows. She dared a step forward. The ground beneath her was uneven, causing her to stumble. "Ethan!" she whispered, a plea laced with terror. There was no reply. Only the frantic thumping of her heart drowned out the echo of her voice in the stillness. Panic clawed at her throat, but she forced herself onward, stumbling through the blackness. Then, a breeze swept through, carrying a faint scent like damp earth and decay. It chilled her. It was different from the woodsy smell of the trees. This was something deeper, something wrong. Tara inhaled sharply, recoiling instinctively, her mind racing with dreadful thoughts. What was in the darkness? Was it watching her? Suddenly, the whimper returned, more desperate now, a haunting melody threading through the gloom. Tara's heart twisted, her body moving without conscious thought. Was it real? How was this happening? She pushed through the heavy air, every muscle in her being straining forward, the sound pulling her like a moth to flame. As she drew closer, the dim light flickered back to life, fighting against the oppressive darkness. There, nestled against the roots of a massive tree, was the familiar outline of her son, his face pallid and drawn. "Ethan!" Tara cried, tears welling, but as she lunged forward, the figure twisted and morphed, shadow webbing around it. What she thought was her son warped further, features shifting into something grotesque and mocking. The laughter returned, a cruel cacophony ringing in her ears. So close, it teased, her breath hitched as dread washed over her. The shadows pulsed with life, each pulse seeming to echo that twisted laughter. "No, no, no." She stammered, stepping back, every fractal of her being desperate to run, but she couldn't turn away just yet. With a sudden surge, a dark tendril shot forward, coiling around her ankle like a serpent. Tara gasped, yanking her foot back, but it was too late. The shadows swirled up her leg, creeping higher, closing in on her. She fought, swinging her free leg wildly, but the darkness adhered to her skin, binding her in a sickly embrace. She could hear the whispers now, a chorus of tormented memories rising from the abyss. "Let go," they hissed. "Stay, you'll find peace." The words filled her with dread, mingling with her thoughts like smoke. "Get away from me!" She screamed defiantly, pulling harder against the dark tendrils. Adrenaline flooded through her, there had to be a way to escape. She wasn't done yet, she wouldn't stop until she found Ethan, real or not. In a moment of impulse, Tara yelled out, "You want to take me?" With a forceful jerk, she summoned every ounce of strength and broke free from the clutches of the shadows. She stumbled back, breathless, heart pounding, but as the shadows retreated, she felt a chilling voice wrap around her, soft and sinister. "You think you're free? You've merely scratched the surface." Another flicker, and then the light sputtered again, dimming dangerously, casting her into deeper night. Panic burst anew. She needed to move, needed to escape this hellish landscape. Which direction was safe? She could almost feel their eyes on her from the dark, hungry and pulsating. The whimper rang out once more, luring her further into the vast unknown, just beyond her reach. With a final glance behind her, fear thrumming down her spine, she took a step back into the darkness, ready to face whatever it had in store. What was waiting in the depth of this nightmare? What price must she pay to reclaim her son? As the last glimmer of light flickered out, the shadows began to close in again. Would she find Ethan, or was the only escape to surrender her own sanity? In the suffocating black, a chilling question hung in the air. Were the shadows the real enemy, or was it far worse? Tara's heartbeat echoed in her ears as she stepped deeper into the oppressive black. It felt alive, a pulsing entity ready to swallow her whole. The last flicker of light dwindled, leaving her trapped in a nightmare of ebony. "Ethan!" She called again, voice trembling, swallowed by the infinite void. A rustle came from her right, sharp and unsettling, followed by a low growl that sent shivers down her spine. Not the sound of a typical animal, but something primal, something hungry. She froze, instinctively dropping into a crouch, willing the shadows to cloak her. But the sound persisted, growing louder, a mix of grinding teeth and raspy breaths. It was closing in, whatever it was. She couldn't see, but she could feel its weight pressing down, infecting the air with dread. Remembering her phone, she reached for it, the cold metal slipping awkwardly through her clammy fingers before finally finding purchase. The weak light illuminated her shaking hands, casting wobbly shapes on the ground. She scanned the surroundings, trying to pierce the black, then she saw it a glint in the darkness. Eyes. They flickered, harboring some malevolent intent. She wanted to scream but choked on the terror rising within her. Instead, she turned and ran, footing uncertain as she blundered through the thick, unseen foliage. Branches snagged at her clothes, reaching out like claws. The growl morphed into a guttural sound, throbbing through the air, vibrating her bones. Panic surged higher, swirling with desperation. She couldn't stop, thoughts of Ethan propelled her forward, every step driven by fear. Suddenly, she tripped. The ground gave way beneath her, and she tumbled down an unexpected slope, landing heavily on damp earth. The wind knocked from her lungs, and she gasped, clawing at the ground, fighting to breathe. the snarling grew louder above her. She twisted, scrambling backward on her hands and knees, hoping to find some refuge. Then she felt it, a pull at her ankle, slick and cold. Tara's eyes widened. The shadows had returned, whispering promises of despair. In a frenzy, she kicked against the darkness, heart racing. No! Get away! She shrieked, her defiance seeming futile against the sinister grip. But then something peculiar happened. The shadows hesitated, releasing her just enough for her to wrestle free. With a final surge of will, she sprang to her feet, now bolstered by rage. Tara bolted back uphill, her breath ragged. The growl sounded closer, fiercer. She could almost feel the heat of its breath against her skin. "Ethan!" she yelled desperately. "I'm coming." Through the shroud, she glimpsed something breaking the dark, a shape silhouetted against a faint glow. Hope flickered unsteadily within her. Could it be him? Could it be real? But as she drew closer, the shape twisted, fading like a mirage. Confusion gripped her. "No. Please." She stumbled and fell again, barely catching herself as she hit the ground. The laughter erupted, a chorus of mocking voices that coiled around her like a noose. "Your son is lost. You're next." Shivers racked her frame. Who was tormenting her? Was her love a mere bait in this cruel game? Tara pushed herself up, despair clawing at her heart. Then she remembered, any comfort in the light had vanished. Yet she saw something. What may have been a glimmer of hope felt more like a noose tightening around her neck. Heavy footsteps approached her from behind. She couldn't turn, frozen in place, the breath hitching in her throat. There was no choice now, she had to face whatever nightmare awaited her. As she gathered her courage, the chilling thought dawned: what if this dark pursuit didn't want her to find Ethan? What if it wanted something worse? Just as she mustered the strength to turn, a new sound cut through the air, a desperate, heart-wrenching wail that chilled her blood. It was Ethan. But from where? Her mind raced. Had the darkness trapped him too? With fear clawing at her insides, she realized one terrible, inescapable truth: the shadows hadn't just hunted her, they were hunting her son. What haunted darkness awaited them? Now in the depths of despair. Tara's eyes darted left and right, her instincts screaming at her to run. But where? The shadows loomed and whispered, wrapping around her like smoke. The chilling wail echoed again, slicing through the silence like a knife. Ethan's voice, faded and broken, reached into her soul, igniting a desperate fire within her. She had to answer him. "Ethan." Her voice trembled, hardly a whisper in the dark. She pushed herself up from the sodden ground, her trembling legs barely holding her weight. The laughter returned, jarring against the impending darkness. It was everywhere, a magnetic malevolence that pulled at her heart. With her heart pounding, Tara stumbled forward, moving closer to the source of the cries. She squinted, hoping for a glimmer of light or movement, anything to guide her. Her hands clawed at the earth, the damp soil crumbling beneath her fingertips. "Mom!" The cry was closer now, a genuine plea that echoed through the despair. It was all that mattered. Ignoring the monstrous growls that throbbed around her, Tara pressed on. The trees thrashed in the wind, creating a cacophony of warnings. Her breath came in shallow gasps, mixing with the musty scent of rot and decay. Suddenly, the earth shifted beneath her, and she lost her balance. Sinking into a patch of mud, she felt the world closing in. Shadows slipped around her waist, pulling her down as if the ground itself wanted her to join its suffocating embrace. She clawed at the air, panic surging anew. But there was no choice. She forced her way out, gritting her teeth against the pain. With a final lunge, she broke free, gasping for air as she stumbled against a tree. For a heartbeat, she stood shivering, the bark cutting into her palm. "Ethan!" Her throat burned, but she screamed anyway, using every ounce of her will. Then he came again, the cry fragile yet fierce. "Mom! Help me!" It guided her steps like a thread in the vast darkness. She pushed through brambles and thorns, her clothes tearing against the onslaught. The laughter mocked her, circling like vultures above a carcass. Being prey, the thought twisted in her mind, fuel for her fear. Then she saw it just ahead, a flicker of light, a soft glow that pulsed in the blackness, growing with each step. Hope dared to blossom, but doubt clawed at her heart. Was it real? Or just another trick of the shadows? "Ethan! I'm coming!" As she moved towards the light, the laughter turned sinister. "You won't find him. You're too late." It taunted, mixing with the shadow's growls. Tara stumbled, her legs feeling heavy, as if the very darkness sought to drag her back. With sheer stubbornness, she pushed herself forward, the light expanding into a soft halo. Just ahead, through the shifting darkness, she thought she saw a figure, a small shape, crumpled and still. "Ethan!" She screamed again, sprinting towards it. The weight of the shadows pressed down harder, wrapping her in its chilling grip. But just as she reached the figure, an icy hand gripped her ankle and pulled her back, hurling her to the ground. She gasped, turning quickly to face her captor. A silhouette emerged from the gloom, tall and monstrous, its eyes gleaming, a predator savoring its prey. "Why do you resist?" It growled, voice low and guttural. "He will be mine. All will be darkness." Fear spiked deep in her core as she realized she was caught in a web woven from her own love. The figure loomed closer, trapping her in its stench of decay and despair. It wasn't just hunting Ethan, it was feeding off her fear, wrapping tighter and tighter. In that moment, she understood. She wasn't just fighting for Ethan. She was fighting to survive. "Go to hell!" she screamed, wrenching free with a furious surge. The darkness gripped at her legs, she tore herself away, her heart racing. Breathing heavily, she turned to find the light again and ran. "Ethan!" Her voice rang through the night, but silence swallowed it whole. Where was he? Was he lost for good? The shadows wriggled like serpents, alive, watching. Tara felt the dark gathering behind her, felt its predatory patience. But she had to make a choice. What did the shadows really want? And what fierce truths lay hidden in the dark that might cost her everything? The dread gripped tighter, and she knew, without a doubt, that reaching her son would require more than just strength, that it would demand a sacrifice. As Tara moved through the thought, a sinister laughter erupted all around her, drowning out everything. The truth was just out of reach. In the depths of her anguish, the shadows whispered a promise, a dark ultimatum she was unprepared to face. What lay ahead was inevitable, but was escape even an option now? Tara's heart thundered as she stumbled back into the treacherous path. The shadows whispered relentlessly behind her, taunting her doubts, urging her to succumb to despair. She forced her legs to move even when they felt like lead weights. The flickering light beckoned again, more vibrant now, promising salvation. But the closer she got, the more the shadows tangled around her, gnashing their teeth in frustration. "You won't leave here alive," they hissed, a chorus of malignity. "Shut up!" she yelled, her voice cutting through the dreadful noise. Each word felt like a rebellion against the suffocating darkness. She couldn't let this nightmare swallow her whole. Not now. As she pressed toward the light, it flickered and swayed like a scene from a fever dream. The shape grew clearer beside it, a shadow that was all too familiar. Tara's gut twisted. "Ethan!" she cried, just as a familiar giggle erupted from the darkness, mirthlessly high-pitched and cruel. "No, no, no!" Tara repeated, the frantic syllables tumbling from her lips. She reached the figure and grasped the shoulder of the boy in the flickering light. But what was now apparent sent her spinning with dread. It wasn't Ethan. A reflection of her son faced her, but the boy's eyes were dark voids, devoid of warmth or life. "Help me," he echoed, a hollow mimicry of Ethan's voice. A shudder of revulsion shot through her. This thing was not her child. It was a parasite, feeding off her pain, a creature of the shadows meant to impersonate the light in her life. She gasped, stepping back as her heart plummeted. She spat, recognizing the decoy for what it was. What do you want from me? Your despair. The figure crooned, voice dripping with malice. Surrender to your sorrow. Only then can he be free. Never. Tara shouted. She would not offer her heart as a sacrifice. I will find my son. The darkness roared in anger, a furious wind swirling about her. Tendrils lashed at Tara, wrapping painfully around her arms and legs. The creature began to dissolve, its features fading into the encroaching gloom, but its laughter filled her ears. It filled her with dread. You cannot escape. You belong to us. The shadows howled as if in agreement, twisting into monstrous forms, reaching toward her. An idea sparked. If she was made of light and love, maybe she could turn the darkness back. Tara closed her eyes, focusing on the warmth that once resonated within her, the bond with Ethan. I am not afraid. She cried. I will find you, my son. A blast of light burst forth from deep within her, a radiant flare that cut away the shadows like they were paper. It illuminated the space around her, revealing glimpses of tormented faces in the darkness, all twisted into expressions of rage and despair, but in that moment of hope, she heard the unmistakable sound of rattling chains. A low growl emanated from the corners of the light, chilling her to her core. Foolish girl, the deep growl reverberated, true horror comes when hope fades and that when we'll be waiting. Tara's breath caught. Every shadow, every slithering dark tendril was now alive with malice, ready to pounce. With an unyielding will, she burst through the wall of darkness surrounding her, sprinting forward toward an unknown refuge. Where was she going? The dim light flickered again in the distance, and she could almost hear Ethan calling for her. She plunged forward again, desperate to reach him, all the while aware of the menacing forces swirling behind her, hungry and impatient, with the echoes of laughter chasing her. An icy hand shot out from the darkness, grazing her back, sending an electric shock of despair through her. Tara could feel everything shifting, a predator zeroing in on its prey. Is this what sacrifice feels like? She whispered, knowing that understanding was only part of the torment. Beyond the light lay choices that would entwine her fate with the shadows forever. But then, a sudden crash reverberated in the air, and the ground shook beneath her feet. What was it? And in that instant, she realized that running away would no longer suffice. The shadows buzzed with excitement. Something was happening in the dark. What lay ahead was more than an escape, it was a confrontation with her fears and perhaps a revelation about what she truly had to lose. Little did she know, an even darker truth awaited her in the depths of that night. Tara's breath came in ragged gasps as she sprinted through the thickening shadows, their whispers clawing at her resolve. The ground trembled beneath her, each quake sending shivers rushing up her spine. What had caused that ominous crash? The fear that it was a physical manifestation of the darkness gave her no comfort. She veered off the path, the flickering light still glowing like a false beacon ahead. Ethan! She shouted again, her voice trembling against the howling darkness. Each call felt less real, slowly swallowed by those mocking shadows. Then she heard it, a low rumble, like distant thunder, but wrong. It felt like a threat, an impending storm filled with malice. Clenching her fists, she forced herself onward, knowing that if she stopped, she would be consumed. The shadows shifted in rhythm with her panicked breaths, swirling eagerly as if the mere idea of her dread was a feast for them. Tara could feel their hunger, their desire to see her break. You think the light will save you? A voice sneered through the cacophony, sharp and venomous. It's only a trick. The darkness is your true home. No. She screamed, a fierce defiance igniting within her. Even as they twisted and writhed, she pictured Ethan's face, the boy's laughter, a haunting melody that kept her pushing forward. I will not let you take him. She dashed toward the glow, every muscle protesting. It was getting stronger, more blinding. But in the back of her mind, a nagging doubt crept in. What if it was another deception? What if she was running towards her own demise? Suddenly, she skidded to a halt as a towering figure emerged from the dark, its presence blocking the flickering light completely. It loomed over her, a mass of shadow and despair with eyes like pits, hungry and hollow. Tara stumbled back, her heart racing. The figure seemed to take shape from her worst fears, its form morphing into an amalgamation of everything she had ever lost. "Let me show you what loss truly feels like," it hissed, reaching out with claw-like hands. "No." The word tore from her throat as she tore herself away, pushing back the rising panic. She couldn't afford to weaken. She turned away, seeking whatever was left of the fading light. As she ran, fragments of memories flooded her mind: Ethan's first steps, his joyful face on a sunny day, their laughter wrapped in warmth and safety. Each recollection became a shield against the shadow's attempts to seep into her soul. "You can't take that from me," Tara declared, each step resonating with the strength of her memories, but the shadows only laughed, a sound that curled around her like smoke. "Those memories can't save you. They will become your pain." The ground shook harder, her heart battling against the despair threatening to swallow her whole as she pushed through a thick fog of darkness. Finally, out of the murk, she spotted it. The flickering light had grown larger, brighter. Was it a gateway? A sign? Or just another trap? Tara had to decide, but time was running out. Looming shadows thrashed closer, pulling on her limbs with a desperate grip. She was dizzy with fear, but still she charged forward, aiming for the light, shadows clawing at her heels. When she reached it, she made a leap into the fluorescent warmth. Where it led, she could not know, she could only pray it would be a way out, but crossing the threshold, anticipation twisted into dread. The place beyond the light wasn't empty but filled with whispers. Faint silhouettes danced in the luminescence, and she froze, heart in her throat. "Foolish one," they hissed in unison. "Did you really think you could escape your fate?" Tara's blood ran cold as she looked around, trapped in a nexus of uncertainty. Faces she recognized, from her past, now shrouded in shadow. A gasping breath slipped past her lips as she moonlighted between terror and urgency. What if this was just the beginning of a greater horror? As the shadows stretched forth once more, promising torment and terror, Tara realized the stakes were even higher than she'd feared. If she didn't confront her past, she would never discover the truth about Ethan or herself. But the shadows closed in, and the true darkness was only just beginning to unfold. Tara stood frozen, a whirlwind of emotions slicing through her like ice. The faces surrounding her twisted embodiments of laughter and warmth now cloaked in malicious shadows left her gasping. Each whispered memory taunted her, echoing with unanswered questions and heart-wrenching despair. "Ethan." Her voice cracked, an anguished plea against the suffocating gloom. Shadows writhed around her limbs, as if testing her resolve. They edged closer, their whispers snaking through the air, chilling the very marrow in her bones. "Where is he?" she demanded, fury bubbling beneath her fear. One silhouette stepped forward, an incarnation of her childhood, eyes alight with the innocence she once cherished. "You should have stayed away, Tara. The past never forgets." It lunged, and she staggered back, the ground shifting beneath her. Before she could think, the luminous glow began pulsating, as if resonating with her fear. A part of her wanted to run, to escape this torment, but another part needed to understand. "Ethan!" she shouted again, fear spilling into desperation. The faces regarded her, their eyes empty but knowing. "You think you can save him?" they hissed, drenched in malice. "You will only find pain. There's nothing left of him here, nothing but shadows." "No," Tara breathed. "No. I won't believe that." Deep determination surged, she fought against the chill invading her heart. But the memories, the apparitions, coiled tighter around her, constricting her thoughts. "Face your darkness, Tara," the child's voice echoed, becoming a chilling chorus. "You must confront the truth." A vision burst forth: Ethan's smile, framed under bright sunlight, a fortress against the night. It crumbled, morphing into the shadow before her, a reflection of everything she sacrificed. Rage ignited. "You're not real." She shouted, her voice slicing through the spectral noise. You're just a manifestation of my fear. With that realization, clarity fought against the pervasive fog. Tara's heart raced as she grabbed hold of her resolve, channeling it into a surge of confidence. She took a step forward, ready to challenge the silhouettes. You don't own me. The shadows recoiled, hissing in rage. You think sheer will can save you? The darkness will devour you, leaving nothing behind. Suddenly, an echo pierced the air. A voice familiar and real, Tara. Help me. It was Ethan. The plea reached into the depths of her being, fueling her resolve. She strained, searching for the source. Ethan. The shadows wailed, a cacophony of despair and anger, pushing back against her as ethereal fingers clawed at her mind. Stop. You don't want to go there. But she pushed ahead, summoned by the echoing cry of her son. Those memories of laughter and joy served as a beacon, guiding her deeper into the light. I will find you, Ethan. I will. I am coming to save you. The shadows shrieked, collapsing in on themselves, but new horrors emerged. A vast darkness twisted, a storm now brewing. The air thickened with despair, and Tara felt it. It wasn't just the shadows, something much worse awaited. A creaking from behind sent chills racing up her spine as an unseen force swirled around. Disembodied hands clawed at the air, hungry for her terror, desperate to claim her. This is only the beginning. A voice thundered, resonating with the intensity of a storm. Embrace your fate. Tara's heart hammered as she neared a looming vortex of pure shadow, sucking in light like a vacuum. From its depths, a figure emerged shrouded in darkness, its gaze ominous and penetrating. The air crackled with despair as she realized she had stepped into the very heart of the nightmare. What awaited her at the center? Would confronting this void lead her to Ethan, or trap her forever in the grasp of darkness? She had one last chance to fight to break free from the haunting. But doubt crawled in like fog, and even as she ran toward that vortex, an insidious whisper echoed behind her. You will never escape what was the truth that lay waiting in the shadows. Tara pushed through the darkness, each step a fight against the suffocating weight of despair. The swirling shadows laughed around her, a haunting symphony of mockery that cut into her heart. But she was done with fear. No longer would she allow shadows to dictate her reality. She thought of Ethan, his sweet laughter, the way he crinkled his nose when he smiled. That pure, innocent light was worth fighting for, and she would not let his essence be snuffed out. Drawing on every ounce of courage, Tara surged toward the looming vortex, the darkness swirling violently, ready to swallow her whole. She gritted her teeth, determined to confront whatever lurked within. I will find my son. She shouted, her voice echoing against the hideous laughter that swirled around her. As she entered the vortex, the air became electric-filled with buzzing energy and a bone-chilling cold. Shadows twisted and writhed like snakes, reaching out for her. But there, amid the chaos, she spotted a light, a small beacon cutting through the tangles of darkness. It flickered weakly yet brightly enough to guide her. It was Ethan, she could feel him. Ethan! She cried, the words spilling from her lips. The laughter dissolved into sharp gasps, their shadows recoiling as she pressed forward. The very act of seeking her son seemed to push the dark back, revealing pathways she once thought were lost. In the distance, the silhouette of her son took shape, small and fragile, lit by a soft inner glow. Each step felt like ascending a mountain, the shadows clawing at her heels, but she did not falter. I'm coming for you. She yelled, each tear streaming down her face fueled by love and desperation. The shroud of darkness let out a furious roar, shaking the ground as if to warn her that every precious moment came with a price. Just then, a chilling voice emerged from the shadows, deep and resonant. Do you really think you can save him? You'll be consumed along with him. The ground vibrated, and the vortex pulsed like a heartbeat. Tara's heart thundered in response. She was nearly there, ignoring the fear coursing through her. She felt a deep inner strength emerging, a fire ignited by her love for Ethan. It burned brightly, illuminating the path forward. It became a shield against the encroaching darkness that sought to devour her hope. "I want to let you take us," she shouted defiantly, pushing through the fear and doubt that as she reached Ethan's glowing form, the shadows whipped about her dangerously. "Mom!" he cried, his tiny voice laced with fear. Tara's breath hitched. "I'm here." She lunged forward, grasping his small hand in her own warm, real, alive. But as she pulled him towards her, the shadows surged forward, a collective howl of rage and despair. "You will not escape this fate," they screeched, closing in like a storm. "Hold on, Ethan," she cried out, squeezing his hand tightly. At that moment, she understood the truth: love was more powerful than fear. Drawing from the depths of her memories, the warmth of their laughter, and all the moments they had shared, she began to channel it outward. The light started to glow brightly from within her, spilling into the darkness like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. The vortex shook violently, but Tara stood firm. "You are nothing but a shadow," she bellowed, her voice rising above the chaos. The shadows recoiled, shrieking in agony, but Tara didn't stop. Wrenching her eyes away from the overwhelming darkness, she focused on Ethan and pushed the light farther. The air crackled with energy, and colors splashed around them, revealing forms of those lost to the darkness. Ghostly faces flashed by, doubtful, sorrowful. "Break free from their grasp," Tara urged Ethan, tightening her embrace. She summoned all her strength, the chorus of joy and love washing over the shadows like a flood. "You don't own us. We choose to live." The shadows shrieked, twisting and screaming as they fell back from them, dragging against the brilliant waves of light. Tara held tight to Ethan, pushing through the chaotic swirl until they burst through the other side. Into a world washed in blinding light. The laughter faded into a distant echo, replaced by calm serenity. Tara's breathless laughter filled the air as she cradled Ethan in her arms, their breaths mingling, filled with relief and love. The darkness that chased them faded into mere memories, a haunting reminder of the struggle they had overcome. "Mom. Are we safe?" Ethan's voice trembled, but not from fear. "Yeah, buddy. We're safe now." Tara smiled through tears, brushing her fingers through his hair. They were free, and she knew this was a hard-won victory that would not be easily forgotten. Together, they stepped forward into the light, sealing the past behind them. "Let us go home," Tara said, pulling her little boy close as they walked away from the remnants of shadow and darkness, their bond richer for the battle won. Their journey had tested their limits, but together they faced the darkness, and in the end, love and hope prevailed. Tara knew the shadows would always linger, but with Ethan by her side, they were ready for whatever came next. Now, don't just sit there, subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. I need your support to keep bringing you these heart-pounding tales. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let us keep this incredible journey going.